and welcome to my channel. Today we're in my kitchen because I'm going to show you such a simple recipe that is not only freaking delicious, but it's also extremely nutritious. We're going to be making a meatball stuffed spaghetti squash. Yeah, it's as good as it sounds, I promise. So for this recipe, all you have to do is hit the like button and subscribe. Just kidding, but that's also very important. But what you really do need is a spaghetti squash, and I'm going to show you a little hack on not only how to cut it, but also how to cook it up, especially for a recipe like this. And then you're also going to need meatballs. Now you can go ahead and buy store-bought meatballs if you want. That's the very, very fast dinner comes together in 15-minute meal. I'm actually going to show you though a delicious, really simple meatball recipe that's also not very time consuming. And then the last thing you need is some spaghetti sauce. So I have some tomato sauce, fresh out of a can, but I'm going to doctor it up a little bit to make it a little bit more flavorful. But you can just use like a really high quality spaghetti marinara, like Rao's, for example, is a really good one, or kind of make your own like I'm going to show you how to do. And then last but not least, I have just a little bit of Parmesan, just a little bit to sprinkle it on top because I feel like you can't do meatballs without some Parmesan, right? Okay, so let's first go ahead and prep our spaghetti squash. And then while that's cooking, because we do need to get it a little bit soft, then we'll make our meatballs in the meantime. So here's my first hack that we're going to do with the spaghetti squash. We are actually going to first cook it in the microwave because like I said, we want a fast dinner. And if you roast a spaghetti squash, it's going to take probably 30 minutes, and then we have to fill it with the meatballs, which you can do that, absolutely no problem. But in the microwave, it's going to be just fine because we're going to finish it off in the oven. So it'll just taste the same as if we had it cooking in the oven the entire time. So one of my hacks that I have for cutting a spaghetti squash is I'm actually going to cut the very top off because there's not a lot of spaghetti strings or meat there anyways, and cut the very bottom off so it stands up like a pineapple, and then we can just cut right through. And then I'm going to use a grapefruit spoon, to scoop out the seeds. This is the best thing ever when it comes to doing any kind of squash, whether it's a spaghetti squash, butternut squash, grab a grapefruit spoon. Okay, so let's cut this and prep it. Be careful of your fingers with this. That is why I like to cut the bottoms off, because otherwise when I'm trying to just go through it this way, I always have a fear of hurting myself. And also make sure you have a really good knife. So the butt is off, that's my discard bowl. And the head is off. So now it can stand up. How simple is that, right? And you don't have to worry about trying to cut through that hard stem. So then you just stick it right through the middle. Bam. I mean, maybe I'm not the first one to come up with this, but I've never seen anybody else do it, so I'm gonna take credit. All right, using my grapefruit spoon, just scoop out all those seeds. Done. Get that last little chunk right there. Get off. Okay. So it looks like these are actually pretty good at standing up on their own. If it didn't do that and it kept rolling sideways, because we are stuffing this, what I would do is just cut a little bit of this bottom off to make it more level so that it stands up. But both of these are doing pretty good. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do is just like this. I'm not even gonna add olive oil or any salt to them. I'm just gonna stick them straight in the microwave for 5 minutes, and while that's doing its thing, we're gonna make these meatballs real fast. Spaghetti squash is cooking. Also have my oven preheating to 400 degrees, so that's what we're gonna be baking on. And then I have a pretty large skillet with about 1 to 2 tablespoons of olive oil on it. I'm gonna actually go ahead and turn that just on medium heat, and then we are going to make our meatballs. So again, you can buy pre-made meatballs at the grocery store if that's what you choose. Absolutely fine. But I promise this is super simple too. So in here I have a pound of ground turkey, a 1/4 pound of spicy sausage. That is the trick. I always have sausage in my freezer for making meatballs and for making burgers. And then I have a 1/2 cup of ground nuts. You don't have to do that. You could also use breadcrumbs. I just love the texture and the flavor that the nuts give, kind of like a sweet taste. I have 1 egg. It's actually a farm fresh egg. My parents got chickens earlier this year, and started having their own eggs. So that's pretty cool. I have a third of a cup of chopped onions, and then I have 2 cloves of garlic, and that's it. Again, super simple. So I'm going to rub this all together, toss it in the skillet, and we're just gonna cook it long enough so that it browns on all sides. We don't have to worry about cooking it all the way through, since it will cook all the way through in the oven. All right, let's do this. You guys, almost messed up. I almost started combining all this before actually hitting the record button. That would be really bad. All right, so mesh all this together. If you're using a more fatty meat, like an 85% or even a 90% beef instead of like a turkey, you probably don't need to add the egg. I don't always add it, but if I'm using something super lean, like ground turkey or a 95%, then I will add the egg to help bind it together. I also did put a little bit of salt and pepper in here. You don't need to add too much, because if you add that sausage in there, the sausage gives it a lot of flavor. And I'm a big fan of, I know some people are against this. You can comment below what you do, but we tend to salt our food mostly after we cook versus salting while we cook. Okay, so you don't want to overdo it. You just want to make sure everything is spread homogeneously throughout. Alright, I'm going to take these. I don't want to make them too big, since they're going to go inside of the squash. Like golf ball size. Now we just do this. I will put this on speed time so that you don't have to sit here watching me roll all these. This is the longest process of the whole thing. Okay, my least favorite part about dealing with ground meat and poultry specifically is just, oh, I hate it. But I will say, so that was set on for 5 minutes, and we not only made the meatballs, but we rolled them, and now they're already almost hot, and the timer just went off. So we'll just call these 5-minute meatballs. All these have to do is cook for about 2 minutes on each side, again, just to brown it up, and then we'll get to assemble everything, and we're almost done, y'all. Okay, I'm not gonna hit the stop button yet until I wash my hands. Okay, so we're pretty much done. It's been browning for about 5 minutes, and they're pretty brown on each side. They're not cooked all the way through, and we don't want them to, because they're gonna finish off in the oven, and if I cook them all the way through here and then stuck them in the oven, I don't wanna risk them really getting dry and falling apart. So that's the idea behind that. And as far as our spaghetti squash is concerned, it's gotten its head start on cooking, so it's gonna be super fast in the oven. We're not gonna have to cook it for 40 minutes. Should only cook for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then we have our sauce. So like I said, I just have organic canned spaghetti sauce. And what I'm gonna do to it is just spice it up a little bit, spruce it up. So let me just move this back real fast. Turn that off. I should have gotten a bigger bowl. So if it spills out, it's my fault. Bam. So in this little dish, I have 1/4 teaspoon of chili flakes. I have 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and then I have 1/2 teaspoon of garlic seasoning. So not actual garlic. My husband is a weirdo when it comes to garlic. That's the nicest way to say it. He can smell garlic like a vampire from a mile away. So I have to kind of sneak it in, because even if I put in, since I use clove garlic in here, if I put clove garlic in here, he would know it in a heartbeat. So I have to use powdered garlic, but if you like whole garlic, absolutely go for that. I would use 1 to 2 cloves minced, and then I also have 1/3 cup of chopped onions, but I'm not going to mix that into the sauce. I'm actually going to put it on top of our mix once we start putting it all together, and then that Parmesan. And then a little bit of salt. Actually, I'm going to use this salt. So I live in Charleston, and we have this place called Bull's Bay, and they make the best smoked sea salt. If you've never tried this, oh, you can order it, I think, online. It is amazing. And then, of course, we also have some pepper. So I'm going to mix my seasonings in, and very, very carefully, try not to spill this all over the place, though I know it's going to spill out a little bit, and just mix it up. It doesn't have to mix too perfectly, since it's going to get poured over everything. And like I said, you can use jarred spaghetti squash. This is just a staple we always have in our pantry, and then I doctor it up for whatever it is that we're making with it. So I can use it to make curry dishes or soups, or if I'm doing something like a marinara, I just doctor it up and make my own marinara. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take about just a big scoop of it. Actually, I'll probably just use, well, I can use this. And go ahead and just lay a nice bed down in each spaghetti squash. Because you want that seasoning or that sauce on the bottom and the top. Yeah. And then I'm gonna boat in some of the meatballs. Oh, they look so good. So basically, how you would plate this is just give each person, or you could even cut it in half, but basically like that is their dish. It's a meal in a bowl already. So you just give them a fork and they'd be able to eat directly off of the spaghetti squash. Let's see, I'm gonna do 4 meatballs in each one. There we go. And then, yeah. Okay, so then I'm gonna go ahead and put more marinara sauce. Probably end up using about half a cup in each one. I'm gonna just make sure every meatball gets a nice little dose so that it absorbs that flavor while it's cooking. And if you have another one and you're gonna make another spaghetti squash, you can always use the rest of the balls, or you can just finish cooking these off in the stove, toss them in marinara, or you can also throw them on your baking sheet and finish them off in the oven with everything as well. I'm just gonna go ahead and finish them on the stovetop. So yeah, that's the plan. So now these are gonna go in the oven at 400. We will check on them after 12 minutes. Oh, and we are not gonna sprinkle the cheese on top yet. We're gonna wait to do that at the top and then make it all bubbly. Okay, so we are on the home stretch. It has been cooking for 13 minutes. It is fork tender to the touch. So I'm gonna take it out and then I'm gonna sprinkle this spaghetti squash with a little bit of shredded Parmesan cheese. Now, when we are putting it together, I did forget to sprinkle the onions on, my bad. But as soon as I remembered, I put them back on the plate, so all is good to go. But I didn't want you to think like, what was she gonna do with all those onions? I just sprinkled them up on the top, divided it among the 2 different squash halves, and baked it all in. And then we're going to finish it off with a quick little broil, just like 90 seconds to 2 minutes, just to make that cheese super bubbly, to also caramelize the onions a little bit, just to char them, just a tad, and then it's finished. All right, so let's get this out real fast. All right. That down. It is nice and bubbly. I can smell it cooking away, and I can hear it too. It's like sizzling. And then I'm just going to sprinkle. You can do more cheese if you want. We're just not huge cheese people. I know that's like not American. So we don't do a ton, just enough to add a little bit of flavor. I'm going to clear this. I'm also going to start the broil. Bam. Okay. Let's go ahead and stick this in, and then when I pull it out, it's finished. It's ready to eat and ready to enjoy. And then it's time for you to try this recipe and let me hear what you think. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, that was 2 minutes on the broil. Let's check this out. Oh, I'm so excited. I love spaghetti squash. My husband does not, so really that just means 2 meals for me. Oh, check this out. How good does that look right now? Freaking amazing. It is nice and crunchy on the top with that cheese, perfectly browned, not overly done, and it is fork tender so that literally I can just put this on a plate tonight and check that out and just eat it straight from the freaking squash. So that is the plan. If you want to do this recipe, give it a shot. I promise it won't disappoint you. But let me know. Tag me over on Instagram at TrainerKendall with a picture. Let me know what you think of it. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button and make sure to subscribe. Every single week, I put out a brand new video, alternating between being here in the kitchen and being over at my gym to share a workout or a fitness tip. So don't miss out. hit that subscribe button, and even better yet, hit the bell so that you get your notifications and don't miss out. All right, guys, thanks for cooking with me today. That was fun. Now it's time to eat. I'm excited.